I've
You
been
guys are
taking
gonna,
notes too.
because if there's any of these announcements, you can go back and let her know. So back to the standard alignment paper, you need to have one artifact that is going to align with one standard and one substandard or key element, whatever you want to call it, one program outcome and one measure under that program outcome. Don't go nuts and try to put more than that in. That's plenty. That's plenty to do. It's just supposed to be an example or sample of your learning. So same goes with the videos. Many of you need to think smaller. If you can't, the biggest complaint I get is I can't get it all in 3 minutes. Well, it may be that you're going too much into detail, or it may be that you chose too big of a intervention or strategy or topic or whatever you're trying to do. So, be sure that you're getting the right size. I want you in your papers to clearly describe your growth and understanding, as well as your strengths and weaknesses for each standard, not the substandard, but the whole standard, and each program outcome, not just the measure, but the whole program outcome. So you go back out bigger, you've narrowed down to the substandard and you've narrowed down to the measure for part of the paper, but then you go back out bigger for when you're talking about what your understanding is and your growth and your strength and weaknesses. Please be sure to include your rationale and your justification for your alignments. I want you to defend your choice. Don't just say it aligns. That's not enough. That won't do it. I'll send it back to you. And that reminds me that one of the things that we know about these papers is, or one of the things we know about this course is it's also different in the way things are graded. So unless you're turning things in late, I won't really be deducting points. What I'll do is you'll turn it in and maybe you're going to be missing part of it. I'll send it back and say, you need to complete this. And then when you complete that part and send it back into me, then I'll give you the points for it. So that's a little bit different than, so you can't do like a B level. There's no such thing. You're going to get an A. It's just the way it's going to be. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
That
Be
makes me
sure
feel
that
a
you're-
lot better too.
Yeah. Be sure that you're defining your standard and your substandard and your program outcome and your measure in your own words. Tell me what it means to you. Don't just summarize the artifact and call that your paper. That is not a paper. That is only one piece of the paper. And be sure that you're including the whole thing. I've sent you twice now an outline of what the paper should have in it. So you kind of use that as a checklist and make sure that you've done all of that. And yet these papers are fairly short. But many of those items can be handled in like one sentence. Sometimes 2 items are handled in 1 sentence. So it's a long list of items that you need to be sure are there, but it can all be there and still be written concisely. There is a formula. Don't ding me on this when I say this, but it's not the time to be creative. And I got dinged last time from a bunch of students. I mean, I just thought it was really ridiculous because they totally misunderstood what I was saying. I'm not telling you not to be creative. Of course, I wouldn't tell you that. But as far as these papers and your culmination paper are concerned, there is a very stylized, formalized way to do it that doesn't really allow for much creativity. And I don't want you to worry about that. So don't worry about trying to make your paper you were creative when you did the artifacts. Let's put it that way, okay? So now's the time. It's a very stylized thing. Okay. I need you to watch self-plagiarism. If you don't know what self-plagiarism is, you need to go back to your syllabus and read that. That paragraph about self-plagiarism has been on every syllabus in every course you've taken in this program. So if you haven't ever read it, you need to get that read now. It's a serious offense, but I want to tell you right now that you have permission from all of your professors in this program to use your artifacts in this course, but only in this course. So that's part of self-plagiarism, is being sure that you have permission to use work that you've turned in to professors. The other part is that you need to cite it. So you're going to need to cite your own work. Otherwise, it's self-plagiarism. So read through that, discuss that with each other, and you can get it figured out. Today, I also want you to discuss trends in gifted education. Oh, and since I'm talking about citing stuff, don't forget to cite your program outcome and measure and the standards. They need citations. Don't forget to discuss the possible trends in gifted education for your culmination paper. And remember, a trend isn't a trend unless it appears twice in 2 different courses. But what you choose is going to depend on what you've talked about in your, what topics you've chosen to write about in your artifacts. So if you've never written about, say, flexible grouping, that may be a trend in gifted education, but you have no artifacts to back that up. So you're going to have to make sure. That's why the artifact table and your program portfolio really become important, because you're going to be having to use artifacts to back up those trends. You can use artifacts that aren't in your program portfolio, things that you wrote that you didn't choose to put in, or I mean, not your program portfolio, but your artifact table. That's a possibility for your culmination paper. But most people don't do that. Most people end up writing on the 3 trends that they've kind of seen a lot of and written a lot about. Let's see, Nicole, be sure to schedule your next meeting sometime between April 9th and April 17th, and include me when you send your invitation. Be sure also that you send me the link to the recording of this as well. Be sure everyone participates and everyone contributes to writing your summary, but only Nicole needs to submit it. It'll populate in everybody else's cells. You do need a copy of the summary because you need to put that in your capstone portfolio. If you haven't yet looked at the tabs of your capstone portfolio to see what you're going to be putting in it, you should do that too, because the videos are going to go in there, and so are these summaries. The draft of your culmination paper is due Wednesday, April 20th, and it's the only other assignment that has to be turned in by noon to get full credit. Watch your time. Keep up with the great job you guys are doing. I know you're working really hard. This is the last step. It's very exciting, and congratulations for getting there. And can I answer anybody's questions?
I just had a quick question about submitting the papers. So you said to submit it as a Word document. I actually use Pages on Mac. Is it okay if I submit it as a PDF? I've done that for other classes, and teachers have been able to like edit it and stuff like that. Is that
as long as, yeah, I think you can do that and it works.
Okay. Okay.
But if
I
you're
just wanted
using
to
Google,
like,
if you're using Google Docs, there's a way to convert it into a Word document before you submit it.
okay.
Right
I
from
just wanted
Google.
to double
It's
check.
real easy to do. Somebody can probably show you how to do that. And then if you don't have Word, you can get that. That's free to you as an ASU student, you know, the whole Microsoft Office thing.
Okay.
I also had a quick question for the
Sure.
professional practice videos. I know we talked briefly about stuff like self-plagiarism. If I adapt like presentations or staff PDs that I made in prior courses and readapt those for this, am I able to like say this was work that I did in this course and cite it, but then go over that in my professional practice video? Or are you looking for us to make like new professional practice like videos with other work?
I think in general, I'm looking for new, but it's not impossible that it wouldn't overlap. So just cite it. You're going to have a video description sheet that you turn in, and on the video description sheet should be the link to your video and also the answers to those questions and reference list. So look at your video description sheet, and that's where you would list it if for citations. That's a good question though. Any others? Chris, we can't see you, Chris.
Yeah.
Are you
Yes.
hearing us? And
I am here.
Okay.
Let me start my, oops.
I had one more question. Should we wait to upload everything? Wait until you give us feedback on like everything
Yes.
and then upload it after? Okay.
yeah, yes. That's why, it's kind of important for you to turn in your work in a Word rather than, I know some of you turned in your capstone portfolio with the artifact table already embedded. You may have to delete that and then,
Yeah.
work on your artifact table and then turn it in again,
Mhm.
embed it again. That's why, just to save you that step,
Yeah.
but I didn't catch it. I didn't catch you guys fast enough. A lot of you were ahead of me. But from now on, it's really best if you turn it in as a Word document. Let me give you feedback on it,
Mhm.
make the corrections, and then upload it to your capstone portfolio. And I really, really strongly suggest that you do that all along the way. Don't wait until you get to the end where you're going to have a mountain of things to correct and then upload and then turn in your capstone. You're only going to have a couple days to get it all done, and you're going to be very you'll have to pull some all-nighter or something. So don't do that. Instead, it's really easiest and best if you just make the corrections when they get. I get my stuff back to you guys really fast. So
Yeah.
You should have, I try to give you as much time as possible to get those things corrected and then uploaded. So, okay. It's exciting. You guys are here at the end. This is always such an exciting class. I hope you guys are really looking forward to getting done.
Yeah.
Sure you are.
Yeah.
It will be good.
Yeah. Any other questions I can answer? All right, I'm gonna let you go because I know you've got a lot to do in a little bit of time. So good luck, and I will see you at the next meeting, and congratulations.
Thank
Enjoy.
you.
Be sure to enjoy it a little bit.
Thank you so much. All righty.
Did you create a doc already to share?
Yes, I did. It was in that thing that I sent out earlier in the week. So I'm gonna put it in the chat actually.
Okay, I was
So
looking for it and I couldn't find it.
So basically what we're gonna do is I have like outlined what we need to discuss. So basically the first part of the meeting, everybody needs to go through each of their standards and you need to discuss the artifact you're using, the course that it's coming from, and then the substandard or the key element, and then the program measure and outcome. Okay. So I did create a table for that. I went in and put in my information already in there. If you guys want to do that, if it's like easier for you, so we can kind of just like discuss things, and then whoever is writing it up can kind of use that later. That's fine with me. Just so we can kind of be more present and I don't have to worry about like taking notes the whole time and things like that.
Sounds good.
So does anybody
Nicole,
want to? Yes.
Stop you for a second. Where did you send this to or share it with us in
Send
Google?
It's,
I'm sorry.
can you see the chat on your phone?
No. And that's
Okay.
what took me so long to get in. I couldn't get in on my computer, so I ended up getting in on my phone, and I don't see the chat.
So it's it was actually, if you look on Slack, it was in that I sent out that whole like PDF. There should have been a link in there for the notes.
Okay.
If I can send it, hold on, I can send
No,
it
it's all
right.
right. I'll just look for it. Was it in? I got it.
Okay. Okay, perfect.
I was
right.
looking for your name in my Slack stuff, and Dr. Dome started, and then yours got cut off. So it looked like it was from Dr. Dome instead of, I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
No, you're good, no worries. So does anybody want to go first?
I'll go first.
Okay.
So I'll fill it in a bit later.
You're good, no
so-
worries. We have some time, so I'm not worried.
Yeah, no, for sure. I saw that when it's due. I'm like, oh, we have a lot of time. Oh, it's due today. Yeah, so I definitely was one of the students she gave a lot of feedback on, which is so kind of Dr. Dom, because it's not like she gives a final grade. She like keeps sending it back, which is really, really sweet of her. So I'll just start with the first thing I have. So I went through the entire program, like the master like education program. It's because I know some people are getting their certificates. I always forget who. So I took all the courses listed on the table. So for that, I used all of my either like signature assignments or last assignments. That way I didn't have to start from like major assignment 1. And then I think what's best is to get the final piece, because some of my courses, the major assignments were basically going to end up being a culmination of everything. And then that would be the signature assignment. So for SPE 572, that's my testing and measurement and gifted education. I chose the first standard and substandard 1.1 gifted education specialist review, select and interpret psychometrically sound, unbiased qualitative and quantitative instruments. I don't know if I should read all through all of them. Maybe have them opened up.
No,
and then-
Just, you can literally just say like standard 1, I chose key element 1.1, and then I chose
Sounds good.
program measure 1 with whatever the
with-
thing, with the measure. That's perfectly fine.
Sounds good. Yeah, and then I chose outcome measure 1.1, but 1.12, because my signature assignment was a reflection on an approved list of tests to use to identify gifted students. So figured it fit. For SPE 573, that was my differentiating instruction for gifted learners, teaching methods. My signature assignment was sharing 3 instructional unit lesson plans that I plan to implement with my students. And that was like a culmination of like each lesson plan and then turning out one. So I chose the second standard, 2.1. And then my measure outcome was 1, measure 1.13. For my third standard, it's SPE 585, Creativity Foundations of Research and Development in Gifted Education. My signature assignment was to make a creative project or experience for a hypothetical grade band. And of course, chose a third standard with key element 3.1. My outcome was number 3 and measure 3.2. For my fourth one, sorry, because it's not in order. Oh, and then I have another one that overlaps too. Let me look for the fourth one. I'm sorry.
You're good, no worries.
It's COE 501. I think this was my first course actually into this program, Introduction to Research and Evaluation in Education. I had to provide a literature review on a problem of practice. So I chose outcome or standard 4.0 and then substandard 4.1, outcome 1, and measure 112. So definitely my outcomes do overlap. For my fifth one, SPE 588, the Gifted Learner Foundations of Identification, Education, and Development. My signature assignment was to make an educational plan for a fictional character. So that was standard 5, and then 5.1. I used outcome 2, measure 2.2. And then for my sixth one, where are you? I know where it's. TEL 504, learning and instruction. I had to create a final teaching philosophy. That one's a little bit hard to figure out what standard that is because it's like either policies or where it really fits. So I chose standard 6, and then key element 6.3, and then outcome 3, measure 3.1. And then last but not least, I chose, and then there's some courses I didn't mention because they do overlap, but this class I put it as for standard number 7, gifted capstone. We're going to need a culmination paper on 3 trends in gifted education. So I chose the 7th one and substandard 7.2. She did give me positive feedback on that, so I'm assuming it aligns. And then I chose outcome 1 with measure 1.11.
Okay, perfect. Thank you for sharing that. I know I saw some similarities in my table with the assignments I used as well. Sam, would you like to go next?
Yeah, I can go next. So
Okay.
I'm going to drop my artifact table into Oh, it only sent to you, Nicole. So if you
That's
wanted
okay,
to
I'll
pass
take
that
it.
out.
Yeah.
And I can also share my screen if that's okay.
Yep. Oh, should I give you permission? Hold on one second. There you go.
Awesome. So, for my artifact table, when I went to go and create it, I tried to make sure that I had to like significantly review my program portfolio because I was like, oh, wow, these outcomes and measures don't match what I
Mm-mm.
thought they did anymore. So I was trying to make sure I had outcomes and standards for all of those areas. So the one I chose for standard 1 was in 572. I picked my signature assignment about identification in Mesa Public Schools, where I analyzed their identification practices and made suggestions for improvement and what I would do differently. So that's where I picked standard 1 and then substandard 1.1, with reviewing and then selecting assessments. I attached outcome 1 and measure 1.12, study the challenges of testing gifted students and analyze assessment choices. I felt like that all sort of fit in there. For standard 2 then, I have 2 different options, either from 573 on differentiation or in the creativity course. Both of them have substandard 2.1, which is aligning educational standards, providing access to challenging curriculum. I'll probably go with 573 and the signature assignment, my instructional unit plan on dystopian societies, because I was very proud of that one. And I actually have like student data from that one from this quarter. So I have some quantitative and qualitative observations that I can talk about for that and why this differentiation works. For standard 3, my option is from TEL 504. I did major assignment 3 for this one.
I did that. So originally I didn't do that. And then when I was like kind of looking at it more, that was the one that stuck out to me that lined up very nicely actually with standard 3.
Yeah, I talk about, with substandard 3.3, theories, evidence-based practices, laws and policies. And then I saw that sort of through that video and attaching those lenses to it. And I was like, okay, this is what I feel works best here. Standard 4, again, I only have one option for this one. And it's professional literature and using it to improve practice with individuals and exceptionalities and their families. My entire major assignment 3 for COE 501 was a literature review on retaining gifted learners from underrepresented communities. So I focused on 3 different strategies to help retain gifted students from Black, Latinx, and Native communities, because we all know that it's an issue to identify, but then it's another issue to retain. So that's what I went with that. Standard 5, I have 2 options from 589 and 597. Technically, I had to put a standard there, so I guess I'm going with 589 at the moment. Providing leadership, and then substandard 5.4, advocate for policies and practices that improve programs and services. So in 589, that was the one where I did it about gifted programming in Mesa Public Schools. Technically, the professor for that course said I kind of did the first half of it incorrectly because I analyzed the current practices, but then in the second half, I actually made policy recommendations of what I would fix and change, which I kind of like the way I did it better, but that's just me and I'm kind of stubborn. But standard 6, I have SPE 586 and 588 as options. I'm probably going to go with the one in 586, which was about advising the gifted learner. I did a staff workshop, a major assignment 2 on bibliotherapy. And that kind of goes along with substandard 5 with plan, present, and evaluate professional development opportunities. And that actually gives me outcome 3 in the program goals, because I found that outcomes 2 and 3 were very lacking for me. I had a lot of outcome 1s, so I need to make sure that I get these outcome 2s and 3s in there. And then standard 7 is the last one. I did substandard 7.1, culturally responsive practices to enhance collaboration. And in this one from 587, that was the special populations, I made a quasi-professional development. It's like a community outreach sort of presentation for Latinx families and how to identify potential giftedness in their students. Both native and non-native English speakers being part of that presentation.
Perfect.
So
Very nice.
that's what I've been thinking.
I lined very closely with yours, Sam, in terms of like the assignments that I chose as well. So, all right, Christine, would you like to share?
I would. I don't know how to share my, I would try to get into the Zoom link so that I could be on my computer and do that, so that everybody could see my thing, but I can go with just starting with the standards. I do need to come up with a, I think, 5.0 standard, or I mean, yeah. Anyway, I'll start with number 1. Sorry.
You're good. No worries.
Okay, the first one, the gifted education specialists use valid and reliable assessment practices. I used SPE 572, where I had a signature assignment, a series of intelligent procedures for gifted identification and types of assessments. And then it was a 1.1 gifted education specialist review, select and interpret psychometrically sound, non-biased qualitative and quantitative instruments. My second one was SPE 573. I did a 3rd grade fractions unit, and I used the knowledge of general and specialized curricula to improve programs, supports, and services in the classroom with a substandard of 2.2, continually broadening and deepening professional knowledge and expanding expertise in instructional technologies. Let me see where 3 is. My third one was SPE 586. Oh, I guess I'm not telling you the outcomes and measures, am I? Am I supposed to be doing that too?
Yeah, so that's okay.
Okay, so I'll do that with this one, and then if you want me to, I'll go back. The 3.0, the gifted education specialists facilitate continuous improvement. I did a signature assignment on social, emotional, and cognitive needs of a gifted learner with a substandard of 3.2. Gifted education specialists use their understanding of cultural, social, and economic diversity. And outcome 2 with a measure 2.2 in the outcomes and measures. That was 3. And I think I had to go back. I haven't taken TEL 504 yet, so I'm taking it concurrent with this. So I put a standard 4.0 gifted education specialist conduct, evaluate, and use inquiry to guide professional practice. And then the final teaching philosophy statement would be in which is the signature assignment as my artifact, and a substandard of 4.1, evaluate theory, research, and inquiry to identify effective practices. Outcome 3 and measure 3.2. And I think I don't have a 5, so I may have to rework that depending. I have a couple of 2s. Let me see.
Hopefully ours, with like ours, maybe you can see what we did for 5 and maybe that'll help you pick an assignment.
Yeah. Oh, no, I did the culmination paper for this
Okay.
class. Can we do that way?
Yes, I think she said that was allowed.
Yeah, so that was my 5, gifted education specialists provide leadership, and then substandard 5.4 with an outcome 3 and a measure 3.1. So on our outcomes and measures, do we have to use all the outcomes and measures? And
So we just have to use the 3 outcomes at one point.
okay,
We don't have to include all of the measures though. If I'm
Okay.
somebody can correct me if I'm wrong, but I
Yeah.
think that's what
You're right.
we have to do.
because initially I put 2 substandards under one of the outcomes, and Dr. Dome sent it a message and said,
This
you have
one.
to pick one or the other.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
I'm just, my 6th one, 6th standard was SPE 587. I did a PowerPoint assignment, resources for understanding rural gifted populations. It was not a signature assignment, but it was an assignment that I did for professional development in my school. And it was the gifted education specialists use foundational knowledge of the field and professional ethical principles with a substandard of 6.4. And program outcome was 3 and the measure was 3.2. And then my last one was SPE 589, a signature assignment designing a gifted program for a rural school next to the school that I teach in. And that was gifted standard 7.0 with a substandard of 7.3. Collaborating to promote understanding, resolve conflicts, and build consensus for improving program services. And then outcome 3 with measure 3.2.
Very nice. Okay, thank you for sharing.
Sure.
And now I'm gonna just go quickly through mine. So like I mentioned, mine was very similar to Sam's in terms of the assignments that I chose for the standards. So standard 1, I chose my signature assignment from SP 572. So I focused on analyzing identification procedures in Arizona and New Jersey. So that was really interesting to see. So I used key element 1.1 and then I used outcome 1, measure 1.12 for that. 2, I used major assignment number 2 for SB 573. I was going back and forth a little bit with this one because this is the one where we had to create lessons with differentiation strategies. And then our culminating project was a unit. I just felt like my specific lesson kind of went with the element and outcomes a little bit more than my whole unit in itself. So I chose element 2.1 and I went with outcome 1 and again, measure 1.1.2. And then standard 3, I did TEL 504, which focused on a cultural and contextual classroom analysis. So I looked at a 4th, 5th grade gifted teacher who taught a lesson, and then I kind of analyzed her approach in the classroom. So that went well with key element 3.3, and then I had outcome 3, measure 3.1 for that one. Standard 4, I went with my COE 501 literature review. So my literature review explored 3 types of professional development strategies for teachers that could be used to develop gifted programming. And I felt like it went really good with this category. So I chose 4.1 for my key element and then outcome 3, measure 3.2. Standard 5, I went with my SP 589 signature assignment, which was a gifted education plan that was created for my school. Again, I kind of agreed with what Sam said, where like at the beginning of writing that, I was more so analyzing, where we more so had to like create something completely new. But I felt like that fit this very nicely. And then I went with key element 5.4, and then I did outcome 1, measure 1.1.2. Standard 6, I went with SP 586, my major assignment 2, which was a PLC workshop, which was created to address professional learning communities that focused on gifted education. And the topic that was discussed was how groups can be used as a component of effective curriculum. So I went with key element 6.5. I struggled with finding something to align to outcome 2. Not so much the outcome itself, but like those measures underneath it, because they're so specific. And I felt like the assignments that specifically went with those measures didn't really align with any of the advanced standards. So I kind of feel like with this one, I'm going to really have to be creative in how I'm going to get it to relate. But I felt like obviously like social, emotional, and academic needs, that's what that whole class was about. So like the outcome should go with that class. Like it makes the most sense. Like I said, it was just those measures underneath that seemed very, very, very specific when maybe they should have been a little bit more general,
Right.
in a sense. And then for my last one, this one's a little bit interesting. So I chose SB 587, and I actually chose my resource website because there is a component on my website that had a collaboration. So my website really focused on explaining giftedness to teachers in my district and explaining it in a way that they can understand. And then also honing in on the Asian American gifted students, which is a majority of our population. And then I also, like I said, I had a very collaborative aspect of it where teachers could actually like post stuff and kind of have a discussion forum on there. So that's kind of the aspect that I thought was nice with the collaboration instead of just doing like another professional development type of thing. I thought it was a little bit more creative in that sense. So I went with key element 7.1 and then outcome 3 and measure 3.2. So again, with Sam, I felt like I was very heavy, honestly, on outcome 3 in my portfolio, and the other outcomes weren't as heavy. So definitely going back and reflecting on everything was eye-opening in that sense.
I'm glad
so-
you picked that last one. I remember I actually reviewed that last one with you during that course.
Yes,
And I
yes,
remember
we
thinking
did.
that that was such a cool thing that you did.
Yes, yours was, I remember yours, and I think we also had the other Nicole in our group too, and she did like everybody, like, yes, that was a really good assignment. So, okay, so let's keep this chugging along since I don't want to keep you guys here
So I
too
think
long.
and I think we kind of answer like 4 or 5 of the prompts because we like
Yeah,
explain
yep.
each. And
that's why I kind of set the notes up like the way I did, just so you could, like, I just felt like it would be easier and we could just
Thank
breeze
you.
through it. Trying
Because
to
you're
make
the
it
leader.
easier for everybody. So the next one is basically a discussion of what you were thinking of doing for your 3 professional practice videos. And I know, like before I read that we had to do this, I wasn't really thinking too far ahead, but it's kind of nice to have done it now. So, Sarah, if you want to start with your just kind of your 3, you can briefly just describe like what you're thinking of doing for each one, and if you need feedback or anything like that.
No, and I appreciate Sam asking that question actually, because I don't want to reinvent the wheel, but
I know.
Based off actually now, I might already have 3 things, maybe 2 out of the 3. So kind of based on that, and then making sure it aligns with our stuff. So I'll probably like just adapt it. I was thinking for one of my demonstration of professional practice videos to be kind of like a PD, professional development workshop for other teachers, just an introduction to giftedness. I forgot which course I kind of made it for. And I thought it was an issue at my school because when we have PDs, they're not helpful. Our 2 PDs ago, they were telling us about reteaching, and I'm like, don't you know how to do that? So I want it to be beneficial. And I think we kind of probably have seen that with giftedness. There's really no application for those students. So I think that would be really awesome just to get like a little intro and rundown for teachers. I was thinking my next one being an informational meeting for parents, kind of, and maybe mainly more like the parents of gifted students. So it's like, because I've seen already at my school, the parents or guardians of gifted students really want to be involved and be a part of their students' learning process, which is amazing. So maybe I can try to make like a brochure or something where they could see how they can help at home. Because definitely takes a village. And then I was thinking the last one to be kind of towards an administrator, maybe some recommendations to our gifted program, because as I was doing standard 1, the paper for it, I kind of got angry reading what I wrote, because not on myself, but I was like, dang, I remember how much passion I put in this paper, because my district is not doing much. My school especially is not doing much. So I think that'll be really fun for me to make that. I think all of them I am going to be coming as from the 9th grade English teacher perspective, because I feel like even being a second year teacher, I have a lot of experience already, and then being in this program has helped me a lot. For parents, maybe making like a presentation, brochure, maybe something similar for like the administrator as well. But I was thinking for the PD, professional workshop on giftedness, keeping it like a Pear Deck or a Nearpod where it's interactive and interesting for teachers, because I know being a teacher, they can get boring. I can zone out easily, even though we tend not to do that. So just kind of making it fun, at least for the teachers. And yeah, I think I covered all the questions.
Yep. Thank you. Perfect. Sam, would you like to share yours or what you're thinking of doing?
So for me, since I'm going to be leaving my school fairly soon, they're going to be embedding the honors and gifted kids onto general education teams now. So I'm thinking I might be going with much more of a staff training perspective to maybe leave the school and the staff with some resources. So I do want to go into a little bit on cluster grouping and what that might look like, because as of right now, they're thinking of just making one class where all the gifted kids are going to be in it. But research kind of says that maybe that's not the right way to go. So I do want to definitely address that. And then I think for my other two, I do want to just go into some different differentiation strategies to challenge more advanced learners, because a lot of times teachers don't view differentiation as going up. Also, that's all really fresh in my head since I just completed the differentiation course. But I definitely want to go into some strategies such as like most difficult first, or extension menus, or tiered lesson plans or tiered assignments. Again, just to sort of leave all of the staff that I'm leaving with some resources that they can pull. It just sucks because I remember reading in a couple of the courses too many gifted education programs that places are gutted or like essentially die because certain teachers leave, and me and the other honors teachers that have been there forever are all leaving now because of the decision that administration made. So as much as I can to leave them with stuff, that's sort of what I want to go with for this.
It's so hard when you're thinking of like the whole scheme of things and trying to be understanding of every perspective and emotion, but it's a lot, because at the end of the day, I feel like we have to do what's best for us and our professional growth. And at least if you can help other students, that's awesome. It's kind of hard to think about trying to help every student, because it's a lot.
It was just frustrating because I had a talk with the new principal, and she was like, well, if I try to keep an entire team of honors teachers and I have to cut all these other positions, and you don't want me to do that, do you?
Well,
and I
that's
was
not
like,
fair either.
Wow.
Like,
I
that's
know.
like a guilt trip too. Like,
Yeah.
Right.
So I'm leaving.
Well, literally I walked out of her office and I was like, well, that seals it. As soon as I get an offer somewhere else, like that's
Yeah.
it, because I was like, listen, I get it, but you know,
Oh,
I came
sorry
in
she
with
did
possible
that, man.
solutions and you didn't
Sorry,
listen to
dude.
them.
That's
But
stressful. Ugh,
yeah, but you know, that is what it is.
yeah.
Yeah.
Very nice. Well, I think it's good that you want to leave your school with something. It's very practical too, which is, I'm sure, what she wants to see, that we can use it in our everyday practice. Christine, would you like to share what you're thinking of doing for yours?
Yes, the first video I wanted to do, kind of like a PD workshop for, I did it for my staff, but I also used it, and I'm glad that the other, what was the other girl's name? I can't see. Sorry, Sarah.
Oh, Sarah.
Sarah. So I'm sorry, Sarah.
You're good.
Um,
Sarah,
so
it doesn't
she-
matter.
She mentioned that she was thinking about a workshop for giftedness for parents. And I did a PowerPoint that I did for parents to have a meeting. So because a lot of the parents in our district have trouble understanding how gifted cluster grouping works and why, when they get services and who gives the services and so forth. So I wanted to set a kind of a precedent of this is the provider, this is what I do, this is what, you know, you can expect when you get to middle school, because it changes, and then on to secondary ed, so it'll change along the way. But a lot of students that are identified in third grade, their parents have no idea what it means to go through the school-wide clustering model and then the AP and honors and all of that, the way ours is set up. Also, we have a program that is inclusive, where it's all gifted students, and it's called our Arrow program. So we have 4 classes of gifted 4th and 5th grade students that go to this at a different school. So kind of giving the parents, which, thank you, is it Sarah? What is your name?
Sarah E. It's okay.
Sarah E. I am so sorry.
Sarah E. No, like no H. It's okay.
Oh, Sarah E. Okay, got
Yeah.
it. Got it. I'm very
You're
sorry.
good. Or Sarah's
I-
fine. Don't worry.
I probably, anyway, I'll continue. So that was my first one. The second one I wanted to do and I thank you all for all your ideas, because the second one I wanted to do specifically for teachers to, like Sam said, to learn, you know, most difficult first, to do, you know, some kind of strategy that is going to help students and help the teachers that are in the cluster classrooms provide that. And then the third one I wanted to do was for administrators, because I had a different experience this year, that I kind of took what my vision of what gifted cluster grouping should be and how it should look, where it's a little more student centered. So we're building a rain garden to help an erosion problem that we had next to sidewalks. I wrote a grant and did all of this stuff for it, but I want administrators to realize that there are things that are on school grounds or near our each building or whatever that can be improved, and solutions that can be that students can be included in, and actually learn real life application of what they're learning in school. So it's vertically aligned 2nd through 5th grade. So 2nd graders are doing soil, 3rd graders are doing, they planted the perennial seeds already. 4th graders we're doing weathering and erosion, and the 5th graders are doing ecosystems. So it's going to be a butterfly garden with, you know, basically pulling the rain away from the foundation of the building and the sidewalks that are deteriorating. So hopefully it'll be a success, but that's something where I kind of want to give that to administrators to say, you know, there's opportunity for things like this to happen. You just have to be open to the idea of allowing the students to work in the solution. So
Right.
I don't know
Very
how
nice.
I'm gonna make that short. But
I
somehow
know.
I'll make it more concise and,
I know. I think that's something. So I was just working on my video before we started the meeting, and like making it short is like very challenging to like keep it between like 2 and 3 minutes. Is like really hard for like making sure you're getting everything across. So my first one actually has to do with administration as well. So I would take the role of like a gifted coordinator and go into the superintendent and discuss more professional development that can be done within our district to support gifted education. My whole paper that I did in COE was about professional development and about the lack of professional development, not just within my district, but all over the country. Most universities and colleges don't even include gifted education in their like undergrad courses. They never touch upon that population of students, so it's so represented. And then we get to these districts where Sarah was talking about how she just had professional development on reteaching, which is something that is teacher 101. So like they're doing these professional developments where we already know this stuff and we feel like we're wasting our time when there are so many more things that we could be doing. So I'm just going to kind of petition for more professional development for our gifted education teachers within my district. My second video, I was also wanting to do something with the parents, and I called it Coffee and Conversations. So basically where they would come in and I would kind of give like just an introduction to like what giftedness is, what it looks like in our district, what you can expect for your child who is in the gifted program and things like that, like just an info session. And then the last one, I was hoping to take the role of just like a teacher working with a student and kind of have it open to a compacting out situation where they're discussing, I apologize, where they're discussing, like I kind of start the conversation about like what compacting out is, like ideas they can do for their independent projects, what that might look like and things like that, to kind of bring in, as Sam was talking about, that differentiation strategies that I have the same class as you, Sam, last course. So it's very similar. So I think we're all in a good spot, and it's nice to kind of have your ideas laid out too. So you're not scrambling to think about something when the time comes. And then our next topic that we just need to talk about is we're going to just talk about our culmination paper, very, very general. Dr. Dom just wants us to discuss what 3 trends we're thinking of doing and what assignments you're going to think to align with that, or what classes you're thinking of using assignments for, because like I said, that hasn't been even registered in my mind yet because I was trying to get through these first 2 assignments before I started thinking about that. So again, it can just be very general, what you're just thinking of doing. So Sarah, would you like to start?
Yeah. So I was thinking kind of like you just gave me the idea that for one topic being like irrelevant professional development workshops, and looking back already COE 5-1, I do explain in my literature review that, oh my gosh, this is like really frustrating. And then I was looking back, SB 587 as well. I also seen a trend where I feel like maybe 3 courses, my final assignment was like creating lesson plans or a lesson plan. So I think that's a trend that I am seeing with assignments. And then a very good and bad next trend that I see a lot and I wrote about a couple times, 3 times most likely, was advanced courses and advancing curriculum. Could be a good thing, really awesome, especially if you don't have anything at your school yet, but it's also just very generalized. And that's what we do at my school a lot, that if you're gifted or honors, it's just you're put in advanced classes and that's about it.
Okay, perfect. All righty, Sam.
So a couple of ones that I'm thinking of, one of them is like inclusive testing practices. I know that I had several assignments where I talked about access to testing, how certain districts like Mesa, where I'm currently in, do not provide ample enough testing. not enough universal screening, stuff like that. So that's a trend that I definitely feel I can talk about. Differentiation popped up in several different courses, including one course entirely devoted to that, but there were several courses leading up to that that also touched upon that trend. And then for the third one, I could either be doing flexible grouping or professional development, because both of those I talked about in a couple of courses, but I don't know which one I would prefer to do. I might go the professional development route because that was an entire focus in my research course as well. I did an entire section about professional development and the need for actual professional development in gifted education, because not everyone can be expected to do certification courses offered through their district or through a college. So I think that's what I'm going to land on for my third one.
Very nice. Christine, what are you thinking about for your trends?
I'm thinking of looking at the twice exceptional students that basically, I think it falls under diversity, but I'm wondering if diversity is too broad and I need to narrow it down to a trend in diversity where it's either twice exceptional students and teachers, general ed teachers, as well as gifted teachers, understanding the characteristics of twice exceptional students so that they don't discount them for possible gifted testing. So I'll have to see how I narrow that down, but that's one of the trends. Another one was creativity. In our district, we identify creativity, but we don't. If you identify a need, I think that you should have something to meet that need. And so we identify creativity, but we don't have any courses or anything to offer them. So I think that's a big one for me, that I feel that, we're not meeting the needs of our students. So we have a lot that are identified cognitively and creatively. So they get the cognitive end of it, but they don't necessarily get the creative part of it. And is that 3 of them?
You did 2. So you have 1 more.
Differentiation 2E. Okay. So, and the other trend was, I'm trying to think about it now. I guess choosing testing correctly, I think, for your district. A lot of times they don't offer the nonverbal tests, or they offer just the nonverbal tests, and then you're not getting like stuff that gets tested. You don't get academic and cognitive together. So our district has a variety of tests, and I think it's great, but the amount of times that there's opportunities to do that is minimal as well. So I may look into assessment trends and narrow that down as well. Because I think I just looked at broad things that I wanted to look at, and then further go through my artifact table to see which ones are key. And I know 2E is a big one, and creativity is a big one. So those for sure. And then possibly something regarding assessments.
Very nice. So mine is going to be the lack of professional development. I feel like that is one that we've all kind of seen throughout our time in this program. And that I'll kind of use my literature review, and also one of my workshops that I did that kind of touches upon that. The next trend that I'm going to do is the importance of creativity in giftedness. So we had our whole class about creativity, which is great for artifacts. And then in the first class that I took in this program, I actually wrote about Lady Gaga as my person. So I thought that would be a really nice way to. Did you really?
Yes, I titled my paper "Born This Way: Giftedness and Lady Gaga."
I love
that.
it. So great. Yeah, so I thought that would be like a nice paper to use for like an artifact as well to show creativity. Um, and then my last one, I'm not sure if it's too broad. She mentioned like when she was speaking earlier, like a very specific differentiation strategy. So I just said the benefits in general of differentiation strategies. I don't know if I'm going to need to like get that more narrow or not, but like if I need to, I'll probably do compacting out because that's what I do. That's what we use in my district. So I have not only what I did in my courses for some of my papers, but my own experiences with that. So if I need to kind of make it a little bit more specific, that's what I'll do for that. But good. So we got through all the prompts, which is really, really nice. So the last couple of things that we need to do is I'm going to share my screen right now. So basically we just have to decide who's going to write which part of the write-up. And I already made a Google Doc, which is at the top of this. So you can just press it here for our summary. And I like laid it out already. I did the abstract. So like it's pretty much in nice shape. I can send everybody the prompts too. So basically there's just 7 prompts and it's literally just like the 7 questions and like I'll send the questions. They're very, very easy. So you would just need to give a summary of like what was discussed. I think she more so wants not so much as specific information. I think she wants more just like generalizations we came up with and like what was discussed during those topics. But we do have this too, which we can also include in it that kind of lays out everything as well, the notes. So that'll be nice. So Sarai, you took prompt 3 and 4. Sam, do you want to do 1 and 2?
I really have no preference. So if Christine has a preference for 1 and 2 or 5 and 6, I will gladly do whichever.
You choose, Sam. I was late to the meeting and I missed all the beginning, so you choose and I'll do with whatever.
Sam, you want to stick with 1 and 2?
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
Okay, Sam, and then I'll put Christine for 5 and 6, and then I'll do prompt 7 and the conclusion, and then I'll do like grammar and stuff like that and make sure it's all in. The list. Okay, so did anybody have any questions that they wanted answered for Dr. Dom? I figured we kind of put them in here, and if we needed any further explanation about anything, I could reach out and like ask her, but I didn't know. I know she gave us an opportunity earlier to ask questions, which was nice, but I didn't know after we discussed everything if anybody else had any questions about anything or like needed clarification. Or are we all good?
Not that I can think of right now, but probably
Okay.
as we get started on stuff, maybe we
Okay.
can either write it there or even so she answers her Slack.
She does.
That's
She answers
nice.
very quickly and she's been very helpful.
Yeah.
And like hearing her say that she's gonna give revisions back before like grading and stuff, that I know I was really stressing about this standard alignment paper number. I've been working on it all week and I feel like I've been overthinking like crazy, and by her just saying like that she'll send it back and not to worry about it and she wants us to like do well, I'm like, well, that makes me feel better about everything. So
I have a
Go ahead.
question. I am trying to get into the team discussion meeting document and I can't get in. It just says something went wrong. Not sure what. And so I've just tried it 3 or 4 times and I'm getting it off of your letter to us through.
Okay,
in Slack.
I'll send you the link in Slack. I'll send it to you separately out of the group so you can have it there.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you so much.
Perfect. Okay, so the last thing we have to do is we have to pick a date for our second team discussion. So this has to be between April 9th and April 17th. So that's a Saturday and a Sunday. So I don't know if you want to take time and then write it in the group chat, maybe what works for you. I don't know if you want to feel like this is a good time for everybody to do it, like on a Saturday, or if weekdays are better for you guys.
I will say weekdays are pretty much a no-go for me between
Okay.
work and coaching. If we
Okay.
could do the 9th or the 16th at this same time, like, I just feel that that would work really well.
Same.
But I'm
So I
open.
could do the 9th if we do it about an hour earlier,
And that's
like
fine.
at 10 a.m. if that works for everybody. Christine, is that okay for, sorry, because it's just like, it's different times here. So like, that's why, but.
That's okay.
Christine,
You said 9 a.m. your time?
It'll be April 9th it'll be 10 a.m. Arizona time. So I guess it would be 1 p.m. our time.
Okay.
Are
Yeah,
you
that
with
works.
me? Right? Is Ohio the same as New Jersey?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah,
perfect.
So
So I'll
1 p.m.
I'll
and
put that
then
down.
4/9.
April 9th, 2022, and I'll put, it'll be 10 a.m. and I'll put Arizona. And then next to it, I'll put 1 p.m.
Perfect.
I'll put New Jersey, just so we know. Perfect.
Yeah.
All
Yeah.
righty. Okay, so like I said, that summary write-up's all ready to go. So you just kind of have to go in and type up our stuff, and I will send her the recording. I think I have to send her. So I'll send her the recording and I'll do all that. So our summary is due by April 6th. So just mark that somewhere. Like I said, I know everybody's busy. So like, I have no problem like turning it in on the 6th. So I turn in stuff like the day it's due all the time. So
Yep.
just kind of keep that date in the back of your mind, and I'll just send a reminder out to everybody after about that it's coming up, due dates.
And that summary is just our own summary of those prompts that you
It's what we discussed together.
Okay.
Yep.
Does that
and-
have to be an APA format or?
Yeah, so I formatted it already. If you go to the, once you get into the, which I'll send you, the notes, there'll be a link to the Dean's team discussion summary on a Google Doc, and I already formatted it already. So you just need to go in and type in your section.
Oh,
I have
awesome.
to
Thank
go.
you.
I
You
have to
are
really, really
an
go.
overachiever.
So bye, everyone.
Bye. Go
I
ahead.
have to go like now. Bye.
ahead.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye, Sarah.
Alrighty. So I think we're, oh, okay. Alrighty. Bye, everybody.
Bye.